Hello everyone, this is Dryden001 and welcome back. We are doing Strat Chat today, and today I'm writing it solo. I might have Garrett join me in a little bit, not sure. He may or may not be here, but let me go ahead and remove the deafen that I have in the Discord, just in case he shows up. But yeah, today we're going to be covering Hammond, and basically this is day 2 Hammond is out. And I've basically spent the entire time doing a ton of testing and a ton of theory crafting, and it's pretty epic. But yeah, so Hammond is, of course, a hamster, which was actually something I did call way back when. People were like, yeah, it's going to be a monkey, and I'm like, yeah, but that's no fun. They're not going to come out with another monkey, gorilla, monkey, whatever. I was like, yeah, it has to be like a lab rat or something like that. And you know what? If it's a hamster named Hammond, I think that's just going to let the memes run. And yeah, they have. As you could probably see, if you were watching the live stream, I have the thumbnail on it. If you're watching YouTube, the thumbnail is there as well. Yeah. So for those who don't know, I do live stream this every Friday at 3:30. An episode of Strat Chat where we basically talk about strategies, provide guides and coaching, while also interacting with the chat, so it's pretty fun there. As well as we do post, well, at least I do. Strat Chat's usually my baby kind of a thing. I post the basically the playback video on YouTube. And so that's where you can all see them. And there's a huge playlist. We are on episode 19 at the moment. And it's pretty epic, personally. I like it. Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk to Hammonds. Also, yeah, if you guys want to keep up to date, if you want to come to this stuff live and ask questions live, I'll answer them live. So at any time, if you guys have a question, please throw it into chat and I'll answer them. Likewise, if you're on YouTube, I can answer them on YouTube. And if you want updates on pretty much everything, because I don't keep YouTube and Twitch that consistent in what goes out, so they're not both going to have the same content, I suggest checking out my Twitter at Dryden, DRYD3N001, because someone was a jerk and took the E. But yeah, I give updates to there, as well as I do start live streaming a half an hour early around, and I basically do music that I have found, because I do like copyright-free music, and it's a craft finding good music that's free. So I have a huge playlist of like 300 songs that we basically go through. Add like I think at least 10 a week, just because of stuff I found. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So we are talking about Hammond today, and the document that I've put up is 480 words in an outline format. So in other words, it's pretty big, especially for an outline, and trying to be as succinct as possible. But yeah, you could probably see some of this stuff already. Let's go ahead and get down to business. So as health, basically I'm going to start out by going through basic stuff, as if you don't know what Hammond does. So yeah, we're going to go through all the stuff, and then we're also adding into it little nuances that people don't exactly know, that I've done some extensive testing on. But yeah, his health is 500. So he has 500 health, and he has 100 armor, baseline. The hamster, so little hamster guy, let's emote. So the little hamster guy, he's a crit box, which is fairly small for a tank. Especially since I believe it's actually only for his head as well. And his mech doesn't take a crit shot, so that means when he's in ball form, you cannot get crit shotted, which is massive. Basically, you have in a lot of cases, you have better survivability than Winston during his ult. That's like how big it is. But yeah, that's all the stuff with his health. Let's go ahead and go to his quad cannons, which is his guns. They have 80 ammo, and you fire one out of each side per shot, and each ammo shot does 5 damage, but every single time you click, you shoot 2. So it's actually 10 damage, and it does headshot multiply by 2. So basically this did 20 damage. Kind of makes sense. Also, let's see. It does work like soldier's gun, so let me shoot a little bit. See? And then it blooms out. So if you burst fired, it's better. So you can be more accurate if you burst fire. There is kind of a... I have noticed that there is a little bit of a sway, but range-wise... Yeah. So burst firing's really good on him, and it basically works just like soldier's gun, and I think has the same DPS as Bastion's primary in Scout. And it does, let me see, it has no damage fall off as well. So you'll be doing the same amount of damage from this range. No, there is damage fall off. There is damage fall off. I need to change that because it does drop to, so yeah, damage fall off drops to a 60. Because I have that as a maybe. So it drops by 50%, which is the new standard for all of the heroes. It used to be like 30, but now they're dropping it to 50. So let's do this. Ooh, lag. Let's see. Okay, that was 1. Yeah, so let's see, about 15. Well, 5. Nope. So damage fall off is 30 meters. Is it? Yeah. Damage fall off is 30 meters. Let me fix that. Yeah, because that one was a difficult one to test. And actually, I didn't use that thing for a long time. I actually looked at that yesterday. He also gets about 14% ult charge per 200 damage he does. Just for your guys' math and stuff like that, if you wanted to know. His roll. Let's go ahead and into his roll ability. It does have a 1-second cooldown after using it. Which you'll find a lot of times you don't need to use it that much. But yeah, you can change into and out of a ball with it, very much like Bastion's transforming. And then as well, you get a 50% speed increase as you're a ball. And there's a 1-second cooldown with a 1-second animation to go. So like, yeah. So I think maybe a 0.8 second, but it's more like 1 second. But yeah, that's the stuff with the ball. Of course, you can't get headshot while in it. You do passively roll down hills. So if I'm standing like right here, I don't move. If I roll a little bit, hands are off the keyboard. So you do passively roll down hills, but your speed does not decrease by rolling up hills. You just, if you're not moving, you passively roll down, which doesn't really come that much into play, but hey, it's fun. All abilities that need to use roll automatically change you into a ball, like this. That automatically changes you into a ball, and likewise, this automatically changes you out of a ball. So all that stuff. Let's see. You can roll up ledges slightly, so let's see if I can actually set this up. Yeah, so you can see I could kind of roll up there. Let's see if I can set that up a little bit better. Yeah, so you can see, yeah, I roll up that ledge just slightly. It's hard to kind of notice, but it happens a little bit. It's very good if you are in a position where it's difficult to attach to that point. So let's see. Yeah, see, boom, we rolled up that ledge. The being in ball form puts you in third person, which is very obvious. But the thing is, and I'll show you. See that red bot over there? See that red bot over there? No, you don't. So if you actually use your ball form around corners, you remove the chance of getting headshot, as well as allowing you to peek around corners, which is pretty big. A lot of people use that with Reinhardt. That's fairly advanced for Reinhardt's as well. Okay, now we're moving on to the next page. Pile driver. So I'll go ahead and show you guys pile driver real quick. So when you're about a meter off the ground, this little height will allow you to use pile driver. Oh. See? And so it has like a 1 second like animation, maybe a 1.5 second. It does launch enemies vertical into the air, and it does have fall off with that vertical bounce. So let's see if I can set it up. Oh, boo. I'm being weird. So that guy technically shouldn't jump as high. But yeah, there's a fall off there. Let me double check that real quick, actually. Nope, only hit one person. Poo. Let's see. Nope, just killed him. We'll double check on that. Let's see. You do 100 damage and there's no fall off for your damage. So some people are saying there's fall off damage. No. There's no fall off damage. It hits and it stays. So let's see. Let's wait for... Nope, didn't launch that guy in the air. Bummer. You do have a 7-meter range out from... So it's a 7-meter radius blast. I messed that one up. You need to be falling from a higher... I think it's about 1 meter is the distance that you need... The height that you need to be falling from. Okay, so it doesn't look like it does much fall off. I'll remove the vertical fall off. That was a thing that happened yesterday. So a lot of the stuff that I'm testing that I have lined up was stuff that was yesterday that was fixed in the recent patch. Because there was no fall off originally, but I needed to double check that. Because I figured it was probably going to be in this fall off. And I have tested that and there is no damage fall off. There used to be with this wrecking ball thing right here that there was damage fall off, but that doesn't exist anymore. And it is bound to crouch key. So I suggest figuring out maybe a better key for it. I use it on a mouse key, which works better for me. And then grappling claw. Grappling claw is probably the most difficult, and is basically one of the reasons and the sole reason why he is one of the highest skill cap heroes. Okay, gotta take a drink a little bit. So it's on a I said 5-second cooldown. I think it's a 6-second cooldown actually. I miswrote that. That's why I had to double check that. See, I'm seeing all the stuff that I miswrote and get to fix it. It does get broken if you try to jump. If you release your right click. So if I attach, I can stay there for as long as I want until I release right click. So I activate with right click, release with right click. It does disconnect when you activate Adaptive Shield, which is your E ability. And it does disconnect when you ult, so watch out for that. It does ignore line of sight once you've connected, so see? So it does not disconnect for line of sight, and pretty much acts as if the only thing that can collide is the ball itself, and everything else phases through the wall. Which is unlikely in practicality, but it's better for in-game play. You can grapple indefinitely until you release right-click, so we can just stay here forever. You can't grapple the ground. That is one thing. You can only grapple walls, ceilings, and objects, so you could grapple that. And I believe you can't grapple enemies. Should put that on here as well. Can't grapple ground. and enemies. And I'll... No ground? Got that. See? If you move fast, you deal 50 damage on collision. And that's when you turn red. So... And so what happens is there's a cooldown for when you can actually hit them again. I should clarify this on my document. Once, and it's about one. So it hits multiple people. So you can't hit multiple people, but has a cooldown. Has a cooldown to hit the same target again. I think it's like one rotation almost. I don't think it's timed exactly. But yeah, you see, like, I didn't just like double collision, stuff like that. Your grapple range is weird. Okay, this is really odd, and I don't know if it's a bug at the moment, but it has a horizontal and a vertical range, which basically means the cable doesn't have a length. It has... It's kind of weird. So you can grapple up to 15 meters, right there, up to 15 meters horizontally away from you. Yes, it's weird. But you can grapple 25 meters vertically from you. And I have it approximately 25 meters because I'm not exactly sure. It looks about 25 meters. So there isn't a length because like 15 meters would be like right here. So if I did up here, yeah, right there, that's 15 meters. So I'm connected there, but that is definitely not 15 meters flat. So that's where things are kind of weird. So it doesn't work. There's not a length to the cable. There's not a max length to the cable, technically. On the other side, there is, if you do the math there, the max length would be 25 meters. But, well, not 25 meters. It would be like, you would have to do Pythagorean theorem and stuff like that. It would be kind of funky. But the rule of thumb is 15 meters horizontal, 25 meters vertical, so you could have more height vertically, but there's no length to the cable. Just forget length of the cable, because then you will just be confused on how it works. And then as you approach your point of attachment, so like you have the 15 meters attached, but as you approach, so you can't go back. So you see I'm rolling and I'm trying to roll back, and I'm getting closer and closer and closer, but once you get so close, you have a max distance, and this max distance is about 5 meters. With 6 meters taken into account your ball's center point, because the ball is about, I would say, about 2 meters tall, maybe 1. It's about 1, so it's about half a meter. So about, I would say, 6 to 5.5 meters for the center of the ball, if you want to take into account. But the length of the wire is the length of the grappling hook is 5 meters. And if I have lost anyone, I'm sorry, but this is all technical stuff at the moment. You know what you're getting into. So that's a lot of the stuff with the grappling claw. Let's go ahead and go through some tips with the grappling claw. You want to attach more to high stuff. You want to attach higher into the air, and it allows you to get higher into the air likelihood, because if you have a vertical length of 25 meters, then that means you can hook around farther. The longer you make the cable initially, the longer it will stay. But if you make a short cable, you don't have that much distance. Oh, wow, lag. But yeah, what you want to do is you want to attach, hold, roll in a direction, and then let go once you swing up, and then you kind of want to get the feel of that as well. Some other tips to do is kind of imagine where you want to go and figure out how you're going to get there. So like I want to hit towards that little pillar, so I'm going to do this. Ah. I messed up because I didn't see that platform there. Yeah, let's try that again. So yeah, let's head over there. Boom. So yeah, it is the most mobile character theoretically, and so it's going to be difficult to actually use him. Next ability, Adaptive Shield. It has an 8-second duration with a 15-second cooldown. So you activate it, boom, 8-second duration for your barrier to stay up, which is nice to know that. It gives 100 shield during the duration, plus another 100 for every enemy in your range. And I don't need to actually do any math or anything like that. You just have to look at the screen. So we had 2, and now we added 300 health to us because it's 200 for each. Well, it's 100 for each person, plus the base 100 that you get for just regular. So theoretically, against a team of 6, this actually might be better for free-for-all if you are going up against 7 people. You would get 700 health added onto your 600, so up to 1,300 health in competitive. In a free-for-all with 8 players, you could get even more, and I imagine if you played him in Junkenstein's Revenge, your mind would explode. Or any other bot battle or stuff like that. But yeah, that's the stuff with the Adaptive Shield. Pretty basic, and I prefer using it to get out of situations because you want your healers to be able to heal you. Since the barriers disappear after a certain amount of time, it doesn't make it that good for the healers if all the damage you take is through that, because you'll notice that Hammond is very survivable. Probably the most survivable tank at the moment, just because this doesn't crit, and it's 600 health with armor, and you can add shields to that. It's like so much stall. It's in some cases better than a Winston ult. Him just doing that. Let's look, and then his ultimate. Yeah. So his ultimate lasts for 20 seconds, which means once you activate it and the mines go down and activate, 20 seconds until the mines despawn. The mines, I'm not sure how much health they have. I think it's around 50, honestly. I think it's about 50 health. And so it's kind of weird. If you can kill them before they activate, that's better. So technically, if I did this and swipe through a ton of them, I would kill a ton of them, but if I didn't collide into some of them, those would still try to hit me because they kind of do a seek out within range. Very close. It's kind of hard to measure that. I would think it's less than a meter that those things track. And the mines don't give ult charge, but even though they last for 20 seconds, you start gaining ult charge after 5. So don't worry about like Mercy Valkyrie and not being able to gain ult for 15 seconds now. It used to be 20 seconds. Don't worry about that. But the mines can stay up to 20 seconds. And they drop out in a 7-meter radius with a hexagram figure. And they do 130 damage per, so each one. And I believe it's an AoE explosion. It is hard to test out. But I believe it is. Just because it's an explosion. It makes sense. And it drops 14 mines. So let's go ahead. Let's get into an area that we can drop this out. So I say it's like a wide hexagram. If you look at it, it is. With the points out here. And it's a little bit wider. And if you ever know a hexagram, it's like 6-sided. But imagine the top and the bottom are wider. And that's what this is. And there's 14 of them. You see, 20 seconds in, they despawn. A lot of their strength comes from the fact that they're a pain in the butt to remove. the best way to explain it is think of a a diva ult in some cases that just sticks there and kind of asks you to go. Or, that's not even a good thing. It's almost like a Junkrat grip tire, a ton of them that don't move and only explode when you get close to them. The plus side is you don't have to worry about upkeep on them, and that's really good. You just let them go. Ah. Boom, there we go. So that's another combo, is slamming and then tracking them as they fall, because that's pretty good. But yeah, that's all the stuff. The ultimate fun facts. Whenever you're stunned, frozen, or slept, you actually transform out of the ball into the walking mech. But it doesn't matter, because if that happens, you just go, oh, back in. So sometimes, in some cases, it works out. It just allows them to actually get headshots on you when you're stunned. But then you can go right back into the ball. I suggest that you spend most of your time in the ball, because you'll survive a lot more. But in some cases, you'll get out to shoot. Basically, get out to shoot when you need to do that damage. You can't crouch, very much like Diva. And you can grapple May's wall. There is a bug at the moment where May's wall does act a bit weird, where when it disappears, you're still attached to what May's wall used to be. So that's kind of slick. Combos. Let's go into combos. So combos, first combo is the one I've been using the most, swing pile drive. And this is probably the best rollout technique to use when diving, just because you will do 100 damage upon impact with the pile drive. And if you get anyone with the swing, it does 50 damage. So that's fun there. And then the other one, so a lot of people say to do the swing, pile drive, and ult. That is incorrect, because timing's a little bit off. What's better is to swing, ult, and then pile drive. And what that does is that's exactly what I want. So since your pile drive launches people in the air, and your ult takes a little bit to actually activate, because they drop and then they activate and all that stuff, because it takes time for them to drop, it takes time for them to activate. And so if you do the pile drive and then ult, then what happens is they'll land a little bit before they activate, and then they activate and there's still a chance for them to get out. But if you do the ult and then pile drive, you can do other things after you've pile drive, and it's pretty much free. So that's the better combo. And since you knock them into the air, most of the time they won't understand to try to get out, because it's oh no, I'm in the air. Oh no, I'm on the ground. Oh no, there's bombs. So there's not a lot of people that go, oh no, I'm in the air. I can't touch the ground anymore, and then they can get out of that. The only ones that can are possibly Moira, if her fade's up, and then Pharah, because she'd be like, oh hey, I'm already in the sky, it doesn't matter. Counters to Hammond. May can freeze him, and he can't block it unless he runs away and tries to poke her from range. Basically, she is only a counter if she can get close to him. And then likewise, Sombra, basically if she hacks him, well, she can do a decent amount of damage to him just because of her spread, likes tanks. Granted, she can't do a lot of headshot damage, which is difficult for her, because Hammond has possibly the smallest headshot box for a tank, which is probably going to be like one of the sole reasons if he becomes meta. Like, straight up. Sole reason he becomes meta, verticality and headshots are harder. and he'd last just a
And
ton.
he can turn into a ball and roll away without even having a hitbox.
Hey, welcome.
Yep.
Hammond counters. I'm honestly don't think that he really hard counters anyone except Farah. Because Farah flies, and I actually played against a few Farahs actually as Hammond, and it's hilarious because I just swing up and then just shoot her, and she doesn't understand that Hammond's a hit scan range, and it's kind of hilarious. But besides that, I actually say low mobility heroes. So if he's diving anyone, basically it's the same kind of people that Winston counters and all that kind of stuff. I think you can very comparable Hammond to Winston. Some people are trying to compare him to Diva, but I compare him more to Winston actually. It's basically Winston with range and more skill involved. And then let's go to little tips to remember of like a rule of thumb. He does not replace a hero. So when you're trying to figure out if he is going to be meta or not, number one rule, he will not replace a hero. No new character will replace a hero unless they do exactly the same thing as another hero, but better. So new Hanzo replaces McCree because he does the exact same thing, but better. And so that's the only reason why a character will replace another, is if they do exactly the same thing. Filling a role with a different hero is never going to happen. You're always going to have to change what you're trying to do. So I've been seeing people that are saying like, yeah, he's not going to be meta because he doesn't replace Diva. And I go, he's not going to be meta because he doesn't replace Diva. It's because of something else. But his damage also, if you're whining about his damage, then hit your targets more. His damage actually isn't that bad overall. There is characters that have better damage, but you need to take into account that you're not going to be like drilling through Diva, like big people a lot. You're not going to, basically don't play him like Diva and you'll be happy. And that's a lot of the stuff at the moment, because a lot of people are trying to force him into Diva's role, and they're like, yeah, but his guns don't do good close ranges like Diva's guns are. And it's like, yeah, that's not Diva's guns. Ooh, another good one, and this is something I've been seeing quite often. Not by people that I run into that often, but people who are actually good at the game, so some pros are doing this, is grappling up to the high ground of maps. Let me go ahead and jump into a custom game and do that. But they'll jump up to high grounds and scout out. And so it's actually kind of interesting. So let's do... let's just do all in randomly landed one. So they'll actually grapple up to the high ground and just hang up there, because the third person perspective in ball form, they basically act, and I actually have this in quotation, you use Hammond as a crow's nest and a spotter that then swings into the dive. Because some people don't really understand, like, when Hammond doesn't have to be on the ground or be in the same position that a regular dive needs to be in. He can be... Let's do this. He can be up here. And you can see, I can see everything from up here. And then I can swing back over. And then if I need to dive, let's... Now I've got myself stuck. That's perfect. So yeah, you can just like hang out in high ground areas and then jump down on top of people and hit them and all that stuff. Use your control, your pile driver a lot. But yeah, so you can get up to little high ground positions and take up those positions, and everything will be great. Another thing is pillars are your best friend. So anything that resembles a pillar, like this light post, is going to help you out in a lot of things because you can rotate around it in any different direction without running into something with your ball. And so it's pretty nice. You can use that as well. You'll notice that, and basically the rule of thumb is to hit pillars more, because they add more to your mobility, because they're a lot more freestanding. Ooh, here's another one. And so some people are actually doing this on like PTR at the moment, and they don't understand why they're doing it, but in some cases it's better. You can deny space by rotating around objects. So if you do this and basically just tetherball mode, you deny all the space in this area for people to actually stand in, because you have created a ring around the entire area where if they try to walk into it, they'll get knocked back. So it's pretty sweet. But if you're just constantly doing this and no one's near you and you're not needing to keep this area, you're a waste. Straight up, like you're not doing anything for your team. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then this one is the tip for all new heroes in the game, and all, if you ever try to learn a new hero, is use all of the abilities as much as you can, because if you're just like not using abilities, then they're complete waste. You're not using those abilities and you're wasting that value that you can get out of those abilities. So that would be pretty decent. So Garrett, do you have anything to add?
Not really. I mean, I think he kind of replaced Soldier. I think he's the most well-rounded character in the game now.
Yeah, I think like if they wanted to make him OP, I think that E would have given him health. And that, or the only thing that I run into is he's a tank that doesn't help his allies. Which is like, yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
Hamster.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, he's an independent hamster, guys. It's 2018. But yeah, I think people are comparing him to D.Va and saying like, well, he can't peel for the backline. I'm going like, I think you'd be surprised what a good Hammond would do, because like if you're shooting here and someone's saying like, oh, backline need help, then you can just be like, oh, hold on, and then just slam on top of them and then shoot. But of course, that's going to be after people like get in and start doing well. But yeah, your idea of switching that he'll replace like Soldier in a lot of positions, I agree, because people are saying...
I honestly think... So, every soldier kind of had... Or every soldier, every hero has, you know, the ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
I don't see any downs really to Hammond. Like, I just see him as a stupidly well-rounded hero.
A lot of people are saying that a lot of the downs with Hammond is that what the role that he fits in causes issues, because people are like, I'd rather have a D.Va with defense matrix on my team.
Well, I mean, that's just people being...
Yeah.
People just being... trying to replace heroes. I mean, you don't replace... You invite in. Like...
And they want the stun of Roadhog or Graviton Surge from Zarya. And I think, like... Because the other thing is, there's not a lot of, like, tanks out there at the moment that benefit from high ground. I think the only one that benefits from high ground directly is Orisa, because of her long-range guns. Hammond has his long-range guns, and before everyone jumps out and says, but Dive greatly benefits from high ground, yes, exactly. Dive greatly benefits from high ground, but the tanks that run and dive have no long-range capabilities, and all they do is they're waiting for them to get closer. Hammond doesn't need to actually do that. He can, but he can just stay on the high ground and just poke. You can just stay here and just shoot. and get free value. Free value. Whereas if you're D.Va, you can't do anything here. This is worthless.
I mean, you could shoot your rockets, but
Yeah. And then the other thing to take into account is, so what happens if you're running a tank comp and they run a Pharah? What would you want to do? A lot of teams at the moment without Hammond would say we would switch in a hit scan DPS and run like a partial tank comp, or the other thing is they'll say that we just will fight in the streets and not in the air kind of thing, and we'll just try to not get shot by Pharah and win the ground battle. Well, Hammond can solve that issue. You can use Hammond to win high ground battle because he can knock people off the high ground. You can use him to win dive battles. You can use him to win basically high ground battles, and dive battles are perfect. And then basically a lot of his hitting is pretty good against tanks as well. I don't think it's the best thing against tanks, but I think it's pretty good. Heck of a lot better than Winston, and that's why I'm thinking like if he does replace a character, it would probably be Winston more than D.Va. But people are like, but you need a shield tank, and it's like, no, you don't need a shield tank. Open up your mind to different comps. So, what comps would you think you would run Hammond in?
every single one, basically. I mean, he can partially work and dive.
Yeah.
He can basically replace the soldier with more health. I mean, he has his own run. The only thing he doesn't have is the biotic field. But I mean, if you're running a 2 main support comp, you don't need the extra healing anyway.
Yeah.
He has the sustain pretty much equal to soldier as well.
Yeah. Well, I also noticed that Hammond doesn't take a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Because his hitbox, if you're playing him right, his crit box is rarely out. And a tank without a crit box is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take into account, like, Winston and all those people. And then say, what happens if you take half that damage? Like, actually, if you think about it, a lot of good players can hit crits really easily on tanks because they're so huge. A lot of bad players can still do that. But let's say you completely remove crits. Then everything that used to be twice the damage isn't twice the damage. So basically, comparable to other tanks, Hammond has 1200 health passively. Comparable to other tanks. And like, and not like actuality, but just and he charges ults slower, because of the extra armor. His E does charge ults a little bit, but it just makes him more survivable. Trying to think.
So, I keep comparing him to a soldier because I really think he's just on that level of
I think
versatility.
His damage is a bit south of soldier, but
A little bit. But I think
still.
I think this next point will make up for it. Unlike soldier, he doesn't have to run to the high ground.
Yeah.
He can just swing up to a high ground.
Yeah.
And so probably you could make up for that damage in the time that it takes to actually get to the high ground as soldier.
Yeah. And I will concur that D.Va has a lot better mechanics in getting and like counter diving and well, not technically, because Hammond still is probably better at counter diving at the moment, but like the peeling for targets, Hammond doesn't have a lot for peeling. unless you're really good, and I think that's kind of stuff we'll see in the future. But at the moment, he has such a high skill ceiling that anyone who has already said that he is bad and isn't going to be meta is 100% wrong in their assessment so far. Because with a character so high skill, it literally can go up. And we've seen this with Sombra. Pretty much little had changed with her, and she became meta out of nowhere because people actually started understanding how to play her. And I think we're going to run into the same thing with Hammond. I imagine almost parallel. And then people are going to be like, wait, hold on. What about a 3-tank dive? And because at the moment, people are saying 3-tank dive. And a lot of like big streamers and stuff like that have been like, nah, 3-tank dive's never going to be a thing. It doesn't work. And everyone's like, but why doesn't it work? And they're like, because the Mercy can't heal everyone that fast and the Zen can't do that much. And I'm like, hold on. In current form, plugging him in won't work. But hey, let's think about adding a Moira. And having her orb being thrown out. And at the same time, Hammond doesn't take a lot of damage, so he doesn't need a ton of healing. I've noticed I've been in fights with absolutely no healer, and I run out and I might be at 500 health, only taking 100 damage, and I've been tanking a ton. And it's just like completely insane. But yeah, I think if people get better, that's why I kind of say one of my tips is he doesn't have bad damage, you have bad aim. You're not playing him right. Probably a good rule of thumb is to spend most of your time on the high ground. And then only jumping in to shoot in certain situations. But if you're uncontested on the high ground... And the other thing is if you take into account, like, okay, you have Soldier. And he's up there, but they can still dive the Soldier, and so you have that issue where Soldier is very diveable and he needs a peel. Hammond fits that role, but won't need peeling. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where Hammond's going to be like, hey, can you peel for me? Very much like a Brigitte. Brigitte's never going to ask for peel. So yeah, I think I'm going to open it up for questions while me and Garrett try to come up with some comps to throw Hammond in. I'm thinking if you run a triple tank, triple support dive, that would be very entertaining. So like...
Well, so when we come up with comps, we count Brigitte as a half.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking more of a, 3.5, 3.5, 2.5.
Yeah. Well, I'm
throw
thinking...
Brigitte in there and have half a tank and half a support.
Yeah. Well, at the moment... Because one thing that I'm actually thinking of as well is, let's see. Because I would want supports that could be in a dive and could get good healing output. I think a Brigitte would be really good with Hammond, mainly just for the fact of he doesn't take a lot of damage, so the small healing that Brigitte does is so much more valuable for Hammond, because the healing to getting damaged output is, the ratio would be a lot better. So yeah, I would either that or Lucio. Lucio I'd be okay with as well. I would almost say, what about a Lucio Mercy Zen? And Lucio replaces a Diva. Well, you still have a Diva Winston. So Diva, Winston, Hammond, Lucio, Zen, Mercy.
In there?
No.
I think you should have them where if you're doing a triple tank.
Yeah, but
That's a lot of health.
Yeah, but if you're doing a triple support, then you should be good. So if you're running like the Mercy, the Zen Lucio, I would almost say that you would have enough healing output. Because Hammond's very low maintenance. If you actually play him a lot, you'll notice that like he doesn't take
can
that
tell
much damage.
already. Well, I mean, I was telling you earlier, I think it's completely OP that in ball form, you don't have a hitbox at all. I mean,
Yeah.
basically it means at any point in the battle, you can just completely negate all critical hits and just roll away with increased speed. It's like,
Yeah. And stalling, you can have up to 1,300 health with no crit.
yeah.
And that's if you use your
Also,
barrier.
I think on that note, I think he'd work in a stall comp.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're on a 2 checkpoint map.
If you need to stall the point. Ooh. Oh, okay. Here's something fun. So, let's take into account of you're playing a dive. Let's say you're playing a dive or something that's high ground needed. So let's say you're playing high ground on King's Row. So if you're defending high ground King's Row and you need to protect a point at all cost, if you drop down Hammond to contest the point in ball form and then have him swing back up for healing, you can contest the point as opposed to dropping the Orisa. Because the current meta for defense on King's Row is you run like a Junkrat and Orisa. Basically everyone is up on the high ground. And as the other team comes in, they try to get as close to the high ground as possible to basically shield themselves from that line of sight. And then the defense has to have someone step down and contest. Otherwise, they'll cap, of course. So they'll toss down an Orisa who then fortifies so that she essentially has 800 health. But she still has a head hitbox. What if you drop down a Hammond in ball form with his E ability? You end up with 1,300 health for 8 seconds. As well, you do a couple of things. Because since you jump off the high ground to contest, you can... Let me switch to actually King's Row so I can actually explain this a lot more.
You can just drop down.
Yeah,
you can do the AoE.
Yeah, and you can do the crouch. Yeah, you can do the crouch and drop down and slam. You get a ton of ult charge because you just did 100 damage to 6 people. You get ult charge for 600 damage. And then you still have your... Oh my gosh, you still have your movement ability to get back up to the high ground. So, okay, I just realized something. So a lot of the issues people have is when you're diving, you dive with your movement ability, and then because of Brigitte, you get stunned and you can't, and you're stuck there for 6 seconds until your movement ability comes back. But if you don't use your movement ability, then you're okay. Well, if you're Hammond, you can still use your crouch and pile drive into them and get a ton of damage and then use your movement ability to get out. So yeah, like I'm here on King's Row up on the high ground. They come around to this corner. I do this. And then I just roll around. I have 1,300 health to contest the point, and I spin around here and then do this. And I'm back on the high ground.
Yeah, that's pretty devious.
If you could see my point of view, it's so easy to flip back up on the high ground.
Yeah.
It is so excruciating. I wonder if you can actually contest by just doing the ball.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. So if you like jump out and grab the wall and do the Spider-Man swing up, you can get onto the other part of the high ground as well.
And not only that, but if you have a Brigitte up there, you can also give a little bit of shield plus the small amount of healing you get from the whichever healers, healing for whenever he's visible.
So let's rotate this. So Hammond doesn't replace Brigitte, but he replaces the poor sap that has to contest the point. Yeah, you can just spend the entire time jumping from high ground to high ground, like wrecking ball the entire thing. It's just so dirty. So, assault points would be pretty good. Well, not assault. Yeah, 2 CP, he's pretty good there to contest the point. Basically, contesting points. Oh, and have you seen him on payloads?
Mm-mm.
So...
Oh, yeah, he can get on the payloads.
Yes, but he can tether ball.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So he can attach to the payload and just spin around the entire time. And it basically is like, come on, guys, how about you contest it? How about you contest the point?
Yeah, I bet they're going to have to fix that.
Well, he doesn't hurt anyone already on the point. He just basically draws a line.
Yeah, I know. He also stalls it. If you're defending, that's a big stall.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the issue that Blizzard tries to fix, is going to be stalling the point that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's no different than, Tracer. I mean, Tracer on a checkpoint map just like flashes around the entire point.
And then if you want to get away, you just disconnect and fire roll away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. I think there's a lot of good things because he can be aggressive and punishment isn't that big. There's a couple of things that people are saying is like Sombra counters him because she can just hack him and he basically is stuck, can't do much, which is true. I think with any tank that's true. And then Mei freezes him, and basically the only counter he can do for Mei is just get away from her and just shoot her from range. But I think that's only if you're stupid and get really close to them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know why people are saying he's bad. I really think at the moment he's really overpowered.
I think people who say his damage is bad is wrong, because he has near the same DPS as Bastion Scout, and that's not bad. And he has range. He's the only tank that has hit scan range.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think the hit scan range thing is going to be pretty insane when it comes out.
yeah.
When it comes to fruition, what that actually means, I think people are going to be kind of freaked out by it.
So would you put him in a 2 lanterns comp?
Dude, like I said, you could basically put him in any comp,
Yeah.
but you'd have to change how you play the comp, obviously.
Yeah, because it's a different character. You can't play the comp the same way with a different character.
But I mean, that's fine. Like, it doesn't matter if you change how you play.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people are all butthurt about is, they don't want to change what they've already learned. It's like...
And it's not going to replace this character. Like,
Yeah.
if you actually go back to every single hero release, let's start with the first one. Oh, gosh, who was the first one? Was it Sombra? No, it was Ana. Ana. Okay, everyone. First reaction to Ana. She's not going to be viable because her healing is inconsistent. She can miss her shots. Everyone was like, yeah, but she has the highest healing output in the game. And they're like, but I want the consistent mercy heal because I know I'm going to get healed by that instead of having to worry about someone hitting their shots. And then people are like, hey, if you're good at the game, you can actually hit your shots. And everyone's like, what? That's insane. And then the tank meta came in. Likelihood, Sombra. Sombra was like, they came out. Sombra was like, well, she's not going to replace a soldier. She doesn't have the damage output to replace a soldier. She's bad. It's like, no, she doesn't replace a soldier. She's her own character, and
she's actually played as a support, by the way. No.
Yeah, literally, I was like, and the good one was there was a small crowd of people. I was one of them that was like, hey, with Sombra, what if you built a comp that defended by the health packs? And they were like, well, that's not practical. You want to defend on the point, not the health pack. And everyone's like, well, you still defend the point, but you get the kills by defending by the health packs. And they're like, nah, it's not viable. So that was Sombra.
Then it became meta.
Yeah. And then after Sombra was Orisa, I believe. Yeah. And people were like, yeah, Orisa doesn't replace Reinhardt because her shield's immovable. Everyone's like, yeah, but her shield uptime makes it so she actually has more shield overall. And, of course, I'm going, you don't have to put your shield right in front of you, you morons. And she actually has long-range damage. And now she's being used, actually in a lot of cases, long-range damage on the high ground. And then we go to Doomfist. Doomfist, I actually didn't care a lot about Doomfist. But a lot of people were like, yeah, Doomfist is fun, but he has no range. And I'm like, touche. And he still doesn't have range. And still is bad. I'll be honest, Doomfist is the only character that I was like, yeah, he's overhyped. Who was that?
I think they kind of stuck with the let's not make this a melee-based game when they made Doomfist.
Yeah. And then Moira came out and everyone was like, oh, I can't remember what people were saying. They're saying her healing output was big, but oh yeah, her healing wasn't consistent enough because it was on a resource. And that you should play a Mercy or Ana because you're never going to run out of your healing resource. And then people are like, what if you just constantly refill your healing resource? And they're like, what? That's not viable. Kidding.
What if you actually did damage with the support?
Yeah. Brigitte came out, everyone said, no, she doesn't have the healing output of a support. And thank God someone smart actually was designing comps with her for them to go like, yeah, let's not run her as a support, let's just run her as a tank. And everyone's like, yeah, do that. And now she's good because people actually aren't playing her as another hero. They're playing her as their own healer. So, yeah, anyone who says that Hammond's bad for this reason straight out of the gate, don't know how to play Overwatch. Ooh, lag spike. So, yep. Anything else that you're thinking of? Is there any questions you have? Because I know I have a sheet and that I've changed.
No, not really.
Okay. I think we have everything solid out. We've been doing this for about 45 minutes, so... Nope, about an hour. So, yeah, it's a pretty good time to end. Obviously, things aren't set in stone with Hammond because he just came out, like, yesterday. So, we don't know. But at the moment...
I think he's going to be really changed.
Yeah.
Once people figure out just what you can actually do in comps with him, it's going to be a whole nother story.
I think they might change his somewhere around his health, or maybe make his out of ball head crit box a bit bigger to make him less survivable. But I think they're not going to do that until at least a month after he hits live. I don't think they're going to... I think they might change a few things. Maybe if his ult's charging too fast or too slow, they'll change that. Maybe give him a little more ammo, because some people are saying that he doesn't have enough ammo in his gun, and his animation takes too long to reload. That is one point, is his reload animation is quite abysmal. But that's it. I imagine he's going to get more buffs than nerfs, and in 4 months' time there's going to be a few people that know how to play him, but I don't think we're going to see him, because he's also not going to be on Overwatch League, which basically means the biggest pros of the business don't actually have anything set up. But at the moment, it sounds like a lot of coaches are on board with Hammond actually being good. People who aren't coaches are actually on the opposite side, which is kind of funny.
You know, we never talked about Hammond and his ult.
I did,
really,
but you weren't here.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of planning a comp around it, like, it doesn't seem like a very useful ult, at least from a team-wise perspective.
So,
or at least that's just first impressions. I mean,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure you could do some creative stuff with his ult.
I've checked some things out with his ult, and yeah, Graviton Surge is pretty good. It's actually really good on Graviton Surge. It's really good on Earth Shatters, comboing them with them. I found that aggressive minefields are actually the better, because passive they can work around, but if you stun them while the mines are setting up, then you're good. So like, one thing that I do is I'll fly into the air, I'll ult, and then pile drive into the ground by the ult, and it launches everyone up into the air, and by the time they land on the ground, they explode, because it does 100 damage to them with the pile drive, and then each mine does 130. So it means you only need one mine per 200 hit point target, which basically means all the healers die immediately. Because that's another issue, is each mine only does 130, so that means it needs to hit multiple. So multiple mines need to hit, and that's one issue at the moment. But if you pile drive right as they land, so if you ult and then time with a pile drive, that's good. Oh, and another thing that I found is...
what about making it just how should I say it? Just like a zoning ult.
Yeah.
Because you can't... the other team can't shoot the mines, right?
They can, and I think they're... From what I've seen, I guess they're about 50 hit points, but that is very difficult to figure out. But they're about 50 hit points a piece for 14 of them, and that's the difficult thing about them at the moment.
Okay. I mean, you could still use it for zoning, you just have to be more careful. All right. Is there anything else?
Sorry, I was talking to someone. I had to mute myself. I think a lot of the stuff with the ultimate is using it above everyone, so as you're falling or in the air, because then it's hard to figure out where it is. And I think because there's also a thing that I was able to do. So you know how some health pack rooms and stuff like that have like one entrance in and one entrance out. What I'll do is I'll just drop the mines near the entrance as people are trying to get in to hide. And it basically means you walk out, you die, it's your choice. And they're basically zoned out for 20 seconds. Or the other good one is actually using it at the very end of a match when you're like defending a point or something like that, to basically say, in order for you to contest in overtime, you have to walk through this minefield.
Mm-hmm. What about using both zoning ults, like the big two? So, or not? I'm including his in that. So what if you use Diva ult and you followed up by blocking off an escape route with Hammond's ult?
Yeah.
So then you force them into one of the two ults.
So like ult and then throw it behind them.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you actually get them at that moment of surprise when they're trying to actually run away.
Mm-hmm. There's a clip that I saw. There's a streamer. Hey T, how close do you mine have to be for it to explode, or is it hitbox or proximity? It actually gets closer to you as you get closer to it, and I think it's like a meter that you have to be. It's not too big. I think it's less than a meter actually. It's so small it's unmeasurable at the moment. But yeah, repeat that again, Garrett. Sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, before.
I was talking about the zoning.
Yeah, and zoning with the ult. Because yeah, if there's people, if you can wall off stuff and basically set it up as a dive. Oh, my thing was the clip I saw. There's a streamer that did a cool trick where they had Orisa use halt, and the Hammond dove in and pile drived right where the halt was while being nano boosted, and they obliterated everyone. And so it was kind of like almost like a grab bomb kind of a thing, or it felt like a Doomfist ult into a graviton surge, and they basically killed everyone. Granted, that's like 150 damage, so it's kind of like but in some cases, if you have the follow-up damage, it's pretty good too. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be it, unless Garrett has anything else. But yeah,
no.
Cool. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. If you're on YouTube, thanks for being on YouTube. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'll answer them basically at a later time, but it will be a lot sooner just because of how YouTube and time works with uploading all that stuff, because it is, of course, Friday, and you might be watching this on a Wednesday, so whoop-de-doo, how's it go? To keep up to date, just make sure we do this every 3:30 on Fridays. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Thanks for watching. And,
that's Mountain Time.
Yeah, 3:30 Mountain Time, because you're on the East Coast now. So there you go. But yeah, thanks for watching, and bye.